No one remembered when Ethan Cole first arrived. That was the strange part. In a galaxy filled with towering war species, hive-minded tacticians, and creatures born in the vacuum of space, humans were already considered unusual, fragile, slow, emotionally unstable. But Ethan, he was something worse. Forgettable. He sat in the back row of every lecture hall in the Interstellar Academy, shoulders slightly hunched, eyes always forward but never challenging anyone, while others argued, competed, and displayed their natural advantages. Ethan remained silent. Always silent. "Hey, human," one of the Varnac students sneered one day, its armored exoskeleton clicking as it leaned closer. "Did your species send you here as a joke?" Laughter followed. Sharp, alien, layered with different frequencies of mockery. Ethan didn't respond. Didn't even look at them. That made it worse. Because in a place where dominance meant survival, ignoring someone was the ultimate insult. Over time, the ridicule became routine. Weakest in combat simulations. Slowest in reaction drills. Below average in tactical projections. Even the instructors stopped calling on him. "He won't make it past final evaluation," one of them said during a private assessment. "Why was he even admitted?" another replied. "Human quota, most likely." And so, Ethan Cole became invisible. Until the announcement. The entire academy gathered in the central hall, a massive chamber designed to accommodate hundreds of species at once. Gravity shifted subtly across zones, atmospheric conditions adjusted in sections, but the tension was universal. Final evaluation. Every student knew what that meant. But no one expected this. The head instructor, a towering figure with obsidian skin and burning golden eyes, stepped forward. "Students," the voice echoed, layered with authority. "You have trained. You have failed. You have adapted." A pause. "And now, you will be tested." The massive screen behind him flickered to life. A planet appeared. Dark. Storm-racked. Covered in violent oceans, jagged landmasses, and swirling cloud systems that hinted at constant, unrelenting chaos. Even from orbit, it looked hostile. "This world," the instructor continued, "is classified as a Level 9 Deathworld." The room fell silent. Level 9. That wasn't just dangerous. That was suicidal. Surface conditions include extreme weather instability, apex predator density beyond sustainable thresholds, and environmental hazards capable of terminating most known life forms within minutes. A few students shifted uneasily. Others straightened, pride refusing to let fear show. "This will not be a simulation," the instructor added. "You will be deployed in real conditions." Murmurs broke out instantly. "Real? That's insane. They can't be serious." Silence. The word hit like a shockwave. "Your objective is simple," the instructor said. "Survive." Another pause. "Extraction will occur after 7 cycles. 7 days. On a death world. For most of you," he continued, "this will be the greatest challenge of your existence." His gaze swept across the room. Then, for a fraction of a second, it stopped on Ethan. "And for some," he said quietly, "it will reveal the truth." Sign-up terminals activated across the hall. Participation was mandatory. There was no backing out. Students lined up, some eager, others tense, a few visibly shaken. This wasn't training anymore. This was real. One by one, names were registered. Species identifiers confirmed. Genetic resilience metrics logged. When Ethan's turn came, no one paid attention. Why would they? He stepped forward, placed his hand on the scanner, and waited as the system processed him. Human, tier, low adaptability, survival probability, 3.1%. A few nearby students noticed and snorted. 3%, one muttered. That's generous. Ethan read the display. Expression unchanged. Then, calmly, he confirmed. Later that night, the academy dorms buzzed with tension. Strategies were being formed. Alliances negotiated. Equipment lists reviewed and optimized. Every student was preparing. Every student, except one. Ethan sat alone in his room. No maps spread out. No visible planning. No communication devices active. Just silence. For a long time, he didn't move. Then, slowly, he reached into a small, worn bag at his side. From it, he pulled something old. Not alien. Not advanced. A simple, earth-made object. He turned it in his hands, inspecting it with quiet familiarity. His reflection stared back at him, calm, steady, unreadable. For the first time since arriving at the academy, Ethan spoke. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a whisper. Finally. The next morning, the dropships waited. Massive, armored vessels designed to withstand orbital entry into the harshest environments. Students boarded in groups, tension thick in the air. Some tried to act confident. Others couldn't hide their fear. Predictions ran wild across internal networks. Betting pools formed. Top contenders identified. Names repeated again and again. Ethan Cole was not one of them. He took his seat near the back of the ship, strapped in, eyes forward. As the engines roared to life, a Varnac student across from him leaned closer. "Try not to die too quickly, human," it hissed. "It would be disappointing if you didn't last at least a few hours." No response. The ship launched. Atmosphere burned around them as they descended. The planet grew closer. Storms raged below. Lightning split the sky. Sensors flickered with warnings. "Brace for impact," the system announced. Students tightened their restraints. Hearts pounded. Breathing quickened. And Ethan? He closed his eyes. Not in fear. Not in panic. But in anticipation. As the dropship tore through the violent skies of the Deathworld, a faint smile appeared on his face. And for the first time, it didn't look weak. It looked dangerous. The moment the dropship doors opened, chaos erupted. A violent wind slammed into the cabin, carrying heat, ash, and something far worse, the unmistakable scent of predators. Students hesitated. That hesitation cost lives. One of the larger insectoid species stepped out first, armor gleaming with confidence. It didn't even get a chance to roar. Something moved in the storm. Fast, silent, and the creature was gone. No scream. No struggle. Just gone. The doors slammed shut instinctively, but it was too late. Panic spread instantly. What was that? Did you see it? Close the hatch. Too late. The exam had begun. Deploy. The onboard system ordered. One by one, students were forced out. Some jumped willingly. Others were pushed by the automated systems. Screams filled the air as bodies scattered across the hostile terrain below. The sky burned with lightning. The ground shifted under unstable gravity pockets. Massive shapes moved beneath the surface like the planet itself was alive. And then Ethan stepped out. No hesitation. No rush. Just a single, controlled movement into the storm. He landed harder than most. Not because he miscalculated, but because he didn't bother cushioning it. The ground cracked slightly beneath his feet. He stood still for a moment, listening. The storm howled, but beneath it, there were patterns, movement, breathing, hunting. Ethan opened his eyes, and for the first time since arriving on the planet, he looked awake. Around him, chaos unfolded. A group of 3 students attempted to form an immediate alliance. "Stay together," one shouted. "We can." A massive, multi-limbed creature burst from the ground beneath them. The soil exploded upward. Screams cut short. Blood sprayed across the dark terrain. Gone in seconds. Elsewhere, another student activated a high-energy weapon, firing wildly into the storm. The blast hit something. It didn't go down. It got angry. A roar, deep, resonant, primal, shook the air. Then came the charge. Ethan watched. Not with fear. With focus. He didn't move to help. Didn't intervene. Because this wasn't chaos. This was information. Every movement. Every sound. Every death. It all meant something. A shadow passed overhead. Ethan tilted his head slightly. Flying predators. Large wingspan. Hunting in the storm for cover advantage. He stepped back, just slightly, under the partial shelter of a jagged rock formation. Seconds later, a creature dove exactly where he had been standing. Claws sliced through empty air. It screeched, confused, before vanishing back into the clouds. Ethan exhaled slowly, adjusting, learning, adapting. Hours passed. Then more. The weaker students were already gone. The loud ones died first. Then the confident ones. Then the ones who thought strength alone was enough. By the time the first cycle ended, the planet had already claimed over half of them. From orbit, the instructors watched. Multiple screens displayed different zones of the planet. Most feeds were filled with static or silence. "Casualty rate is exceeding projections," one instructor said. "Not surprising," another replied. "This environment is beyond their level." Still, this fast. A third instructor leaned forward. "Focus on remaining signals." One by one, surviving students appeared on the displays. Some injured, some hiding, some barely holding on. And then, one feed stood out. Stable, clear, uninterrupted. "Who is that?" one instructor asked. The system identified the subject. Ethan Cole, human. A pause followed. "Impossible," someone muttered. "He should have been eliminated in the first hour." On the screen, Ethan moved through the terrain. Not running, not hiding, walking, deliberate, measured, like he wasn't avoiding danger, but navigating it. A low growl echoed behind him. He stopped, slowly turned. A predator emerged from the shadows. Large, muscular, covered in layered armor-like hide. Its eyes locked onto him. It didn't hesitate. It charged. Fast. Faster than anything that size should be able to move. Most students wouldn't even react in time. Ethan did. Not by jumping away. Not by panicking. But by stepping forward. The timing was exact. Precise. The creature lunged. And missed. Ethan shifted slightly to the side, one hand brushing against its hardened exterior as it passed. He felt the texture, the structure, weak points. The creature skidded, turning aggressively for another attack. Ethan adjusted his stance. Calm. Centered. Waiting. From orbit, the instructors stared. "Why isn't he running?" one whispered. Another shook their head slowly. "He's not trying to escape." A pause. "He's studying it." The creature attacked again. This time faster. More aggressive. More desperate. Ethan moved again. Minimal effort. No wasted energy. Every motion had purpose. Every step calculated. Then, in a single moment, everything changed. Ethan moved inside the creature's range. Too close. Far too close. The predator opened its jaws. And Ethan struck. One precise movement. Targeted. Efficient. The creature froze. Its body tensed. Then collapsed. Dead. Silence. Even the storm seemed quieter for a second. From orbit. No one spoke. One instructor finally broke the silence. "Play that back." The footage replayed. Again. And again. Each time, the same conclusion formed. "That wasn't luck," one said. "No," another replied. "That was knowledge." Back on the surface, Ethan stood over the creature briefly. Not celebrating. Not even acknowledging the kill. Just confirming. Then he moved on. Deeper into the storm. Deeper into the most dangerous zone on the planet. Above, the instructors exchanged uneasy glances. "Why is he heading there?" one asked. No one answered immediately, because they all saw the same thing, the same pattern, the same impossible realization forming. Finally, one of them spoke. Quietly. Concerned. "That's not the direction of safety." A longer pause. "That's where the apex predators are." On the surface, Ethan didn't slow down. Didn't hesitate. Didn't second-guess. Because he already knew. And for the first time since the exam began, the hunters of the Deathworld were no longer at the top of the food chain. By the third cycle, the screams had stopped, not because the danger had lessened, but because there was almost no one left to scream. The Deathworld had settled into a new kind of silence, a heavy, oppressive stillness broken only by distant roars, shifting, and the constant low hum of something alive beneath the surface. Survivors had adapted, or they had died. Those who remained were no longer thinking about victory, only survival. A fractured alliance of 5 students huddled inside the hollow remains of a massive skeletal structure, some ancient creature that had once ruled this world. Now it was nothing more than shelter. "Food is gone," one of them said, voice shaking. "Water's contaminated. We won't last another cycle. We stay hidden," another snapped. "Movement gets you killed. And staying still gets us killed slower," a third muttered. Silence followed, because they all knew it was true. Then, a sound. Footsteps. Slow. Steady. Not trying to hide. Every head turned toward the entrance. Weapons were raised instantly. "Something's coming," one whispered. "Get ready." A shadow appeared at the edge of the opening. The group tensed, and then froze. It wasn't a creature. It was a student. Human. Ethan Cole stepped into view. Uninjured. Unhurried. Calm. For a moment, no one spoke. because nothing about what they were seeing made sense. "You," one of them finally said. "How are you still alive?" Ethan didn't answer immediately. His eyes moved across them, assessing, counting, evaluating. 5 individuals. Low energy, high stress, unstable. "You shouldn't be here," another said, more aggressively now. "This zone is unsafe." Ethan finished quietly. A pause. Something about the way he said it made the word feel irrelevant. One of them stepped forward, weapon raised slightly. "Listen, human. If you're alone, you can join us. But you follow our lead. We've survived this long for a reason." Another added quickly, "We share resources. We defend each other. That's the only way anyone makes it out." Ethan looked at them, really looked, at their shaking hands, their shallow breathing, their desperation. Then he spoke, calm, flat, certain. "You won't survive another day." The words hit harder than any attack. "What did you just say?" one snapped. "You're exposed," Ethan continued. "This structure amplifies sound, carries scent. You've been marked." A chill ran through the group. "How would you?" Ethan's head tilted slightly, listening. Then he stepped back. Just one step. "That's why," he said. The ground trembled. Low at first, then stronger. Something massive was moving nearby. Very close. Panic erupted instantly. "Positions! Get ready! Defensive formation, now!" Weapons powered up. Energy levels spiked. Breathing became erratic. Ethan didn't move. Didn't reach for a weapon. Didn't prepare to fight. The entrance darkened. A shape blocked what little light filtered in. Huge. Layered in thick, natural armor. Multiple eyes glowing faintly in the shadows. An apex predator. One of the students fired first. The blast hit. Direct impact. It did nothing. The creature surged forward. Fast. Too fast. It tore through the first student before anyone could react. Chaos exploded inside the structure. Screams. Energy blasts. Blood. Ethan stepped sideways, out of the direct path. Watching. Another student lunged with a blade, aiming for what looked like a weak point. The creature anticipated it. Adjusted. Crushed them instantly. Fall back. Fall. Too late. Within seconds. It was over. Silence returned. Heavy. Absolute. The creature stood among what remained, breathing slowly, sensing. Then it turned toward Ethan. For a brief moment, they stared at each other. Predator and something else. Ethan didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't show fear. The creature stepped forward, testing, curious. It had just eliminated multiple threats. But this one was different. Ethan adjusted his stance slightly. Weight balanced. Eyes locked. Not aggressive. Not defensive. Ready. From orbit, every instructor was watching. No one spoke. No one looked away. "Why isn't it attacking?" one whispered. Another responded quietly. "Because it doesn't understand what it's looking at." The creature moved again. Closer now. Within striking distance. Ethan exhaled slowly. Timing. Distance. Structure. Behavior. All calculated. Then, The creature attacked. What followed was over in seconds. But none of the instructors would ever forget it. Ethan didn't retreat, didn't overpower, didn't rely on strength. He moved through it. One precise step, one controlled shift, one exact strike, delivered to a point no one else had even noticed. The creature froze, just like the last one, then collapsed, dead, back in orbit. Silence turned into something else. Not confusion, not disbelief, concern. "Run a full background check," one instructor said immediately. "Already did," another replied. "Standard human record. No anomalies." "That's not possible," a third snapped. "No student should be capable of that level of—" They stopped, because they didn't have a word for it. On the main screen, Ethan stood alone again, surrounded by the remains of both Predator and students. "He didn't help them," one instructor said slowly. "No," another replied. A pause. "He knew they were already dead." Data began scrolling rapidly across the system. Survival patterns, movement logs, engagement analysis. Every result pointed to the same conclusion. "He's not reacting to the environment," one of them said. "He's predicting it." Another leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "That's not instinct." A long pause. "That's experience." Back on the surface, Ethan glanced briefly at the sky, as if he knew he was being watched. Then he turned, and continued walking, deeper, far deeper than any surviving student would dare to go, toward the center of the Deathworld, where nothing was supposed to survive. And for the first time since the exam began, the instructors weren't watching a student anymore. They were watching a problem. By the fifth cycle, there were only a handful of signals left. From orbit, the instructors tracked each one carefully, not out of hope, but obligation, because at this point, the outcome was already clear. No group had survived intact. No alliance had held. No strategy had worked, except one. "Bring up all remaining life signatures," the head instructor ordered. The main display shifted. 6 signals appeared, scattered, flickering, weak, and one, stable. Ethan Cole. "Zoom," the instructor said. The feed expanded. Ethan stood at the edge of a massive clearing. The storm above had thinned slightly, revealing a dark, endless sky. The ground here was different, scarred, flattened, as if something enormous had claimed this place, and everything else had learned to stay away. "The center zone," one instructor whispered. Another nodded slowly. "Apex territory." No other student had made it this far, because this was where the Deathworld stopped being survivable, and became absolute. "Why is he there?" someone asked. No one answered, because deep down, they already knew. On the surface, the remaining 5 students were converging, not by choice, but by design. A system-wide signal activated. Final phase initiated. All surviving participants, proceed to extraction zone. The clearing. The fight ended, before anyone truly understood it had begun. From orbit, the final moments replayed again and again. Slowed, analyzed, broken down frame by frame. It didn't make sense. The apex predator, a creature that had ruled the center of a level 9 Deathworld, collapsed, not from overwhelming force, not from advanced weaponry, but from precision. Ethan stood over it, still, breathing steady, uninjured. The storm began to return, as if the planet itself was reclaiming the silence. Behind him, the last surviving students lay scattered across the clearing, some unconscious, some barely alive, none capable of standing, none capable of fighting, none capable of understanding what they had just witnessed. One of them, barely conscious, lifted their head slightly, eyes unfocused, voice weak. "What are you?" Ethan didn't turn, didn't look back. For a moment, it seemed like he wouldn't answer. Then, quietly, "Human." The word settled into the air, heavy, unavoidable. Above, in orbit, no one spoke, because that answer raised more questions than it resolved. "Prepare extraction," the head instructor finally said. His voice was calm, but there was something beneath it now, something new. Immediately, dropships deployed, cutting through the violent atmosphere once more. On the surface, Ethan didn't move toward them. He simply waited, the same way he had waited before, patient, controlled, as if none of this had ever been a challenge. The ships landed. Doors opened. Recovery teams rushed out, scanning the area, securing what survivors remained. Their movements were fast, but cautious, because every single one of them was watching Ethan. No one approached him directly, not at first. Finally, one of the senior recovery officers stepped forward, slowly, carefully. "Student Ethan Cole," they said. A pause. "Step forward for extraction." Ethan looked at them. For a brief second, the officer hesitated, not because of aggression, but because of uncertainty.